Yo! We got someone for this episode. It's not just me. Would you look at that? Someone. In any case, while we have someone, would you care to introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Soless Summers.
I know that you and a little person, a young one, called Silky, are related. But who are you to that person?
She is my adopted daughter.
Oh, adopted. How did you two meet?
At a little place called the Dreaming Tree. Well, it's essentially a realm that you can go to while you sleep. I don't need to sleep to go there. But I met her there one day, and well, here we are.
And what drew you to her? Must have been a reason.
Some would call me a gentle giant. Others call me a terror and a monster, but that's more or less on the battlefield. But when I go somewhere that's expected to be non-combatant, there shouldn't be any problems, and things tend to run away from me, well, because of my size most of the time. She was one of them. Every time I poked my head around the corner, she would flee. Like a mouse to an owl. Yeah, it's a good representation. So I just pursued her, managed to get her to understand that, I didn't mean her any harm. And then we got to talking. She told me about herself, where she's from, her life. I have a soft spot for kids. I can't, in good conscience, let a child suffer.
Did you have any plans in mind? Did you foresee how things would go?
Well, in our early discussions, when I was figuring out what I wanted to do, did I want to support this individual, or did I want to take it a step further? And that was ultimately the deciding factor. And I asked them if they had a choice, because at the time they thought themselves a monster, and no one likes a monster. So as long as they look like that, which was a spider beastkin hybrid, half of the body was human-ish, the rest was spider. Most people ran from her in fear, or just didn't like her because of the way she looked. So since I was one of the few people who actually cared and gave a shit, they kind of wanted to look a little bit more like me. I said I'd look into it.
Wow. She does kind of look like you nowadays, I guess. More than a spider.
Have you seen her recently? Oof.
Well, I've seen the 4 eyes, horns. Little not like you, but I guess I can't really complain.
She's kind of a reverse snow leopard now. She looks more like my brother than she does like me.
Would you say she had any major impact on you? How you do things? How did it change something?
That's a long story. But to shorten that up, I'm not originally from this reality. However, everyone that I lost, I had to make a new life for myself. Part of that was having someone to truly care about. Well, she was the first. She became my rock, the one thing I could depend on being there at the end of the day. A reason to keep going.
So then I can assume you
so
got
proud of
some
her.
fond memories. Some
More
good
than a few.
stories.
when I first brought her home for a meal, she would look around, you know, find a little space to herself. And, well, I wouldn't exactly leave her home for too long, but the place that I was in was a pocket dimension. I don't know how or where, but she found a couple mice and started munching on them. I was like, we have food. All you have to do is take the dish, put it on top of the burning stove, heat it up, and eat it. Well, she was so proud that she got that mouse. Like, okay. Alright. Gotta remember, she survived on her own for so long. She's trying to be self-reliant. Relax. Meat is meat. And it's like, okay, the next time you do that, just catch him and, you know, cage him or something. And there's food available. You don't have to survive like that anymore. A child that has survived so long like that is kind of hard to, you know, what they didn't have before is so abundant now.
Yeah. Can't imagine it took some time.
So, afterward, you know, we sat down and had dinner. And she was telling me how she caught it the rest of the time. I'll never forget that. This scare little ball of anxiety. And now she's packing the same amount of armaments and armor as I am and just absolutely destroying things in the battlefield in such a short period of time.
Yeah, 'cause it does not look like a very scared little thing to me when I met her.
She's gained enough experience to start doing things on her own.
Do you have any hopes, dreams, plans for her? Something that, you know, you're not letting her know, but... Or maybe you do let her know, but maybe not enough. I don't know. Do I look like a family person to you?
I'd rather not answer that question because my lawyer isn't present. I'm kidding. I've told her many times that I'm proud of her. That no matter what she decides to choose in life, I'll support her. And what any parent would want for any of their children, no matter their circumstance, we want one thing. And that's to survive. I have had 44 kids.
Jesus.
Mostly adopted.
Okay.
Most of them are from a different reality, the one that I come from. It's a long-winded explanation. Long story short, they have no idea how this reality works, how to acclimate themselves right. So we took the precautions to make sure that they understand the environment that they're in, how dangerous it is, how to defend themselves, give them life skills, teach them how to run businesses, stuff like that, make a living.
Typical stuff, yeah.
Most of them are out and about. Silky's staying a little close to the chest, and I appreciate that. She's still learning. She hasn't been subjugated to the same training and regimens the others have because, well, technicality, she's physically older than the rest of them. So she, by proxy, has a little bit more experience than an actual child would.
She does seem young, but she never did say her age.
She's about 8.
8 years old.
Right, so you have to think about this in spider years. given the type of spider she is, she'd live approximately 18 years. If you equate that to dog years or cat years, 8 years old would be in their 60s. When you throw in a bit of beastkin DNA and a permanent polymorph potion, things tend to translate to your physiology with the physiology that has been added through DNA. So essentially, when everything did this swap and the polymorph potion took effect, she was roughly a 20-year-old beastkin.
Man, those potions do make shit a lot more complicated than I thought they would.
Yeah, but it flopped most of her DNA with that of a beastkin instead of an arachnid. But she still kept some of her features, which was more than fine.
Well,
But,
didn't seem to be thinking too much about the monster thing. Only saw her a handful of times, but from what I could gather.
Yeah, the most recent thing that happened kind of evened out the 70-30 on the DNA side and more mixed her DNA with 50-50. Hence why there's more noticeable arachnid features.
We're gonna go into more general questions. This is more like the typical format that I did the first time, and this is more the kind of stuff that is gonna happen for most people, I guess. Unless I change the format, in which case, I don't know, fight me. Come here and fight me, I dare you. Anyway. So, how long have you been roleplaying? Like, across the board?
About 20 years.
Damn. So I'm guessing you started what, on tabletop? Text roleplay?
Text. Then I did some tabletop D&D. Then some LARPing after that.
So you probably got on a 3.5 then if you started like about 20 years ago. Well, third
Most
edition.
of the D&D games, yeah,
Oh!
were homebrew. I ran a couple. Nothing worthy of note, just one-shots. And, yeah, that was about it. I realized I couldn't play for friends because, we'll leave that to another question.
Alright. So, do you have any favorite system? If you have a favorite, what makes it
really
your favorite?
It really depends on the roleplay itself, whether it's a metaversal roleplay or it's a closed roleplay. I find more closed roleplays tend to play it closer to the D&D scale of things than not. But ultimately, I am a big fan of homebrew. Having the power to do whatever you want, so long as it fits within the roleplay and the DM is okay with it, the more fun the merrier.
What got you into roleplay?
I guess it was too much anime.
I can respect that.
Reading mangas and anime. And just the idea of D&D, you know, fanfics, stuff like ships. There you go.
Ooh, alright.
And just like, you know what? Let me just throw together a character. And like just randomly hop into a form, start role playing, and it got somewhere. But ultimately, there was a bunch of drama, and you know I stopped doing that, and got into other forms of it.
Well, how many characters do you think you've made?
Of the ones I can remember, this character has been a reused character since I perfected how I wanted him. So I must have made 7 iterations of this character in different styles, both text, both, you know, LARP and D&D style.
Reminds me of this guy.
really enjoy this character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Everywhere I can
think
put her.
I was always drawn to the paladin barbarian style of things. I want to say at least 30 major ones, but besides that, there was plenty of role plays that I did where I was actually playing like a character from an anime or something like that. So
I mean, who hasn't? You know, there's just like this anime character or this movie character and whatever, and it's just so damn cool. It's like, I want to be this for a bit. God damn.
I briefly touched base with the Bleach role play and immediately stepped out of it. It's like, this was a bad idea.
uh, so I guess, because I know Soless is a paladin, and you said you make him like a bunch of times, so I'm guessing paladin is what you make the most of when you make a character?
Like, when I perfected him, like, in his glory, like, I put every effort. I made an entire plan for my character before I even reached the right levels, and I just stepped into so many different classes and subclasses and chose like playing Baldur's Gate when multiclassing. So
Okay.
I became a priest, a warrior, then a warlock, and with the combination of those, I was able to get an item that was essentially an ice crown that gave an ability called Absolute Zero. Normal amount of damage is like 6 or 7 in this game, and that's like good tier gear, good hit points, a good weapon that gives either +2 or +3. So 6-7 damage was, you were a heavy hitter, and the one guy is hitting for 10 damage. I'm like, wow. But if you use Sub-Zero, which is a thrown packet, it's a spell, 4 times on the same target consecutively, you get to activate the crown special ability, which was Absolute Zero, and it dealt 100 damage per attack.
Ooh, that's a bus killer right there.
I one-shot a boss.
I can imagine.
Because we were fighting this like scorpion beast, and people are smacking it. They're getting down left and right, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And the guy who was the tail, like, he knew exactly what I was doing, but he's supposed to be a big dumb monster, so he doesn't know. And I hit him the 4 times, and then I fucking slammed my sword on top of him, and he goes, "Oh no, we're dead."
Damn. So would you say Solus is the character that you're the most proud of, or do you have another one that you're just keeping in the back and you're like, I don't use that one a lot, but when I do, it's like, ooh.
There's my secondary character, which OG version is very different. It's supposed to look more like Solus, but the female version. One of the text roleplay groups that I was in liked to explore more of the alternate reality sort of things, or maybe everything was opposite.
Okay.
So what wound up happening was like, okay, what were to happen if Solus was, female instead of male? Would they be the same? Would things be slightly different? Would that change his decisions or her decisions based on gender? And that was a really good mind puzzle to really think about. And ultimately, it went really well. And then there was the merger where one of this character's friends, they were sitting out watching the stars, doing whatever, and then a shooting star came across the sky, and she was pointing at it, and we were just like, okay, that's really nice. And then it turned and slammed right into her. She didn't come out of that. Long story short, my character had to rip open a portal in the dimensions to find, well, there's another version of me that appears to be female, and them, having a discussion, but that version of me had taken my armor off, and that was like sitting on the ground. That's the only way my character discerned who that was. Like, oh, another beast kid. What's that? And it's like, I'm not gonna. It was a whole thing. So I decided to make it a character that I was going to create at some point for VR chat roleplay, and I did. But this version was kind of more of the original, where my character was originally supposed to have dragon blood in him. So, like, my character's supposed to be, like, part dragon, you know, ice horns, ice wings, glowing eyes, you know, scales up the arm. But we haven't gotten there yet.
Everything in due time. How long have you been on VR chat?
I started playing tail end of 2017, and I explored it a little bit. I didn't feel it was right playing on desktop, but ultimately midway through 18, I decided to try it again. After a week of being in VR chat, I decided, nope, can't do this anymore. I need VR. And a week later, I had it.
What was the first one? A Quest?
It was the Quest CV1.
Ooh, that's... okay. I didn't expect that.
Believe it or not, it was only like $200. It had 3 sensors. It came with everything, and you know it was in pretty decent condition. Like the guy only used it a handful of times.
Man, that's a long way to go, isn't it?
I ultimately gave that and my secondary computer at the time to another friend because I wanted them to join me on VR chat and other things.
Nice. How do you know about VR chat at the time? Like, what made you just say, "Hey, this looks like the kind of fucking place I want to be in"? You
So
share as
I
much
knew
as
this
you want.
one person, and I was friends with him for a while, at least 4 years online. We'd chat on and off about things, more of the furry fandom, but toward the end of things, he was really into VR chat and really wanted to get me into it. And at this time, I gave it a try for a few minutes, and it's like, I don't get it. I really think we should have VR in this. But things took a turn for the worst for him. He took a steady decline. And I'm not going to get into it, but unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And after that, I took a couple days, and I'm like, if it's not for him, then what? Give it a shot, give it a try, give it a good actual chance. And that was the first week I actually tried VR chat, and I said I couldn't do this anymore without VR, because I started to realize that VR chat is very different than a lot of the other chat groups I've been in. More personal and personable, that I can sit here with you and I feel that you're right here, when in reality there's a pole where you're sitting.
Yeah, but I mean, you have like the whole movement and things. It's not just an animation just set in. So
Everything is more personal, and you can have more of an actual friendship.
Mhm.
So, you know, getting a hug from someone or sitting next to someone, sitting in someone's lap, it's so much more.
Yeah, it's a connection you don't really get anywhere else.
And a lot of people who look into VR chat and go, "That's fucking weird. Why would you do that?" It's like looking at the furry fandom. It's like, what's with the nuzzles? What's with the head rubs? What the fuck are they doing? And it's like, just people don't understand. And then you see grown adults sitting there going,
Yeah,
outward
it's
looking
like
in.
all
That
things.
looks strange.
And then you get into
But
it.
since then, I have been almost non-stop in VR chat. I took like an 8-month hiatus just because I figured out while I was doing a job driving armored trucks, I noticed a problem with road transits where your mind wanders elsewhere and you just drive. I noticed it happening more and more, and there were times where I wouldn't know how I got to work.
Mm.
And when you move around in VR chat, it's the same thing. It's like sitting in a vehicle. You see yourself going forward, but your body isn't physically moving. And I think at the time my brain was putting 2 and 2 together going, oh, so this is a game. You just mindlessly zone out and use the controls accordingly. And I found taking that 8-month hiatus, I improved almost after the first 2 weeks of not being in VR. It happened less and less. So if you're spending a lot of time in VR chat, just keep that in mind.
Good to know. Important to know about VR chat.
It affects life.
I mean, that much for anyone in this game. I mean, that much is pretty apparent. Like, I think it's safe to say anyone that spends more than 5 minutes here, there's an impact. Anyway, we're gonna talk about servers real quick. How many servers do you think you're in, like, right now?
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24,
He's
25,
counting
26,
them.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I'm going to say at this point it's about 100.
Jeez, busy. Busy man.
I don't go to all of them, and some of them are kind of dead because they were only meant for like missions and stuff.
Alright. Are you a DM in any of them? I mean, I know you're a DM in at least one, and others is more staff? I don't know.
I have been a staff member in at least 4 of the servers. There's my server, which is the Frostbite Forge. There's the Ishtari Guild. I'm staff there. There's Black Wolf Rebellion. I'm staff there. I was staff at Blackstone, but they downsized on staff. And I was doing about the minimum amount of work because I wasn't asked to do anything else. So, you know, the staffly things.
Can you exist? Yes, there.
Well, yeah, right now I'm staff in 3 of them.
The next question I would normally ask, I think I'm gonna ask it anyway, but I think I know the answer. But which of these servers your favorite and why?
Before everything changed, Blackstone was my favorite server to be in because I was a part of something there, and when everything changed, I ceased being a part of it. And the Engineers, I would say, would be an easy second. There's always something going on in the Engineers. And sure, is it crazy? Yeah. Is it hurting my brain every time I go there? Sure. Is it racking my brain like a blender? Yeah. But it's never the same thing twice. And in the earlier days, it was really nice to go there and experience things. It's a little slower these days, so I'm not there as often. And the map is bloody huge now, so, and like, they got 2 people over there, 2 people over there, 3 people right there, and like, all the way in the back, there's like 6 people. I'm not running around the whole map just to find it. It's like trying to run across 6 football fields.
Is there anything you look for when you're, thinking, hey, should I join this community or not? If anything.
I look for communication, and I look for willingness to accept new members into your group. If someone walks up to you and starts asking you a few questions, don't hesitate to answer. Give them the lowdown, Well, as I was saying, back in character.
Is there anything you wish some servers would do? Like some good ideas you found somewhere and you're like, man, other places should do that.
In the metaverse, there is a golden standard for certain things, and others it's not. The death roll system is, for the most part, simple, easy to understand, and gives you a chance. Is lady luck on your side, or is it not? When it comes to missions and things, I wish I'd see more show and tell when it comes to your characters and your equipment, what it can handle, stuff like that, and then present that to the NPCs you're going to be facing instead of letting the DM handle everything. If you're not paying attention, that's on you. Which in most cases I've seen they do that, but you'd be surprised how many don't. The other thing is death consent. This is your character. I've spent probably $3,000 to $5,000 on this character overall. Not all at once, not all by me, but the original version of this character has armor, and the IRL version of this character has the exact same armor, and that's what I base this version off of. So Yeah, I spent a lot on this character. Do I want him to just die randomly on a mission that's below his level? No, I don't.
Some guy with a spoon just comes around. It's like, alright, we rolled and, well, you died. Alright, bye. Have a good day.
So giving option for critical injury or death consent should always be an option when it comes to combat and stuff like that. And what I've tried to do myself is give more explanation, more what's going on around you at that time. Like, hey, if you're observant and you're paying attention, you may notice the smell of fresh coffee coming from that building over there that looks abandoned. It's like, and little things like that really bring things to life. And I mean, as a GM, I'm not always perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, I don't always have all the support that I would prefer to have a situation. NPCs are always hard to get. It really boils down to how much people enjoy your role play. It's how many people are willing to join and be NPC. I mean, if I get 10 NPCs, I can create this huge battle sequence with multiple avatars and multiple things going off all at once, where you truly forget that you're playing in VR. And seeing more of that is really a good feeling to be a DM.
Well, while we're talking about NPCs and such, is there one thing that you want to say, like, as a game master to someone that isn't one?
I have too much to say about this.
I can imagine. There's a whole lot. Like, this is a big subject, but like the one thing you'd want others to be more aware of, something that you just can't keep silent about.
I'm gonna have to say, the VR chat metaverse community compared to D&D tabletop is so different, but we all want that, heart-pulling, gut-wrenching environment that is so packed with action and adventure that we all just enjoy ourselves. But touching back on the NPC portion of things, we might not always be able to get NPCs, so what winds up happening is, because of lack of NPC, we have to make stronger characters or stronger monsters or creatures for you to face. Most people want, things to die within 7 to 8 minutes of combat max if it's a mid-range boss, when their gear should be able to just absolutely decimate that enemy within a few seconds. Like, one of my character's guns is a 75mm autocannon. That's fucking massive. If I were to shoot anything with that, it would turn into paste, realistically. However, we're going up against a boss, and we need that boss to last a little longer than just a few milliseconds.
Yeah.
The idea of giving a good fight to realistic expectations is something not many people understand as a player. We've had to remove people because they had so many problems with stuff like this, and they would just be completely toxic about it afterward. Ultimately, it boils down to NPCs are just as important as PCs. Everyone's made the same way. You get a character sheet, essentially. You get abilities. You get, you can take a certain amount of hits. And just that, and people are really trying to, join me today.
You're a popular bean.
It ultimately boils down to the expectation versus reality will always be broken. The fourth wall will always be broken, regardless of the situation. Because you might have a 500mm cannon that will literally put a hole through a mountain, but it can't put a hole through a dragon.
If you had all the NPCs in the world, maybe it would, but you don't have access to that.
Oh yeah, because then I'd just throw 5 of them at you. You want to tear that one to shreds? Go at it. There's 4 more. So long as we get that fight that really makes you feel like, shit, I might die today. That's great. However, if you do come across a situation like that that you don't agree with, personally, it's better just to leave it and let it go than create an entire scene while you're role playing. It's like, okay, they left, they either disconnected or they rage quit. Leave it at that. Okay, let's continue. You know, if it needs to be discussed, it'll be discussed later.
No point in stopping the flow for all that.
Yeah.
And now, as a game master, do you have one thing to say to other game masters out there?
Picking up plot and coming up with new ideas is always difficult. Leaving room to allow players to make a decision and then for you to change the story based on that decision, not just having multiple possibilities, actually rewriting the story as you go, because the player decided to throw a nuke at the primary city because anarchy. Great, now we gotta move to another city and hope no one recognizes us from blowing up the previous city. So
That sounds from something from experience.
Fallout 3. Megaton. Yeah, no. Flexible stories. And the only other thing I can think of is making sure that if you have a DM character, don't always make yourself like the header of everything. Like there's been so many times where I've stepped down or played a supporting role instead of a main role because I felt like either my character was too tough for this situation or these guys don't get a chance to, do this that often, so I take a step back. Or I leave my character entirely and play as an NPC because there's not enough. I've played bosses in turn of, wanting to, to be the DM character and give the call-outs for the team because I'm the leader of the team. The one mission that we did, I had to be that boss. By the way, you made that look really good with your edits.
Well, thank you. I try my fucking best, but it's hard because Suki's so afraid of everything. I have to just back off and be like, man, this is gonna suck to edit. Jesus.
Nah, because like the avatar I was using was great, but it kept resetting itself to its original position after an animation instead of continuing where it is. So I'd lunge forward and it's like, okay, and I'm actually done. And you see that a couple times in the video and it's like, ah!
Yeah, I try to have the balance between nothing bad ever happens and sometimes things don't always go to plan. Like, try to have some balance,
You're burying the shield, and I wasn't even aware of that when I was being the boss. And I saw that in the video and was like...
That shield, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, nothing can break that shield. The problem with that shield is the shield. You can't break it, so what do? You go around, she can't do anything about it. It's like, oh shit, I was not prepared, so giant monster smacks from the roof. Well, shield don't break, but you're in sand. Alright.
It gets buried. Yeah. No, it's, as a GM, you've gotta be flexible, you gotta roll with the punches. Improvisation is a big one. Just coming up with something on the fly and rolling with it. And not everyone will appreciate your DM or GM style. It's just, you can't please everyone.
You just gotta accept it. Would you say you prefer being a game master or a player?
Oh, it's a 50-50 for me. I like to develop story and plot and carry it out. That's if I have players to come and join. But I also like being a player. This character is much too developed to really get into normal roleplay besides a social event. I've created other characters to fill in the void. One of them is Zathara.
I have not heard of that one.
She's an orc character. Her title is Zathara, the Reaper of men, breaker of pelvises.
Okay, I see how
That
that's
is
going.
that's literally her sport, and I try to make as many jokes with it as I possibly can.
Oh, that's great.
I like that's how I killed a Cyclops recently. Broke his pelvis.
Wow.
Died from internal bleeding. Yeah, no, but ultimately she's only a level 20 character out of the metaverse that is like teeny tiny. She's a
Alright.
monk barbarian.
Alright, I'm down to the final, I guess, group of questions or chapter, whatever you want to call those. This is gonna be more about your main character, so I'm guessing it's gonna be Soless. You got some extra
Yeah.
details that people have not noticed or like gone under the radar that they should have picked up. I'm not saying like give us the secrets, but like is there something that you go, how do people not see this?
Part of any good character is a tragic backstory. It's sometimes avoidable, sometimes not. Really depends on what you want your character to be driven about and why. My character was orphaned by a natural disaster. What people don't ask is he created that disaster himself when he was accidentally, activated some of his key abilities. Like I've told many people the story of, how he survived as a child to become what he is today, but I don't really ask what happened before that. How did it happen?
You said you use Solus like for LARP out there, so I'm guessing you've been using Solus for quite some time.
What, on
How
VR
long-
chat?
No, in general, like Solus, how long has Solus existed from the first version all the way to today? Because see, the Magnox you're seeing here is not the first version. Of course, there's been many, many versions down the road. It started as a completely different character that was named Asa, and she had a similar body and like a kind of a similar like you can't really and you can't
Now
phase me
Magnox
type
is
of vibe.
Robocop with tetas.
Yeah. I mean, I've kept the claws of the original Asa, and I've kept like the legs. Well, I've changed the legs, but they're mostly like what they used to. So yeah, like I've been using her for about 10, 12 years, give or take.
My character has certain levels of clothing and armor from his original. So you got no armor, light armor, heavy armor. And it's literally difference between having gauntlets, chest piece, leg, to just sitting there with a gorget, 2 pauldrons, and some shoulder armor, and just a vest. So there's different levels of readiness. And for the most part, that has stayed a staple of my character. The backgrounds have changed a bit, but ultimately it's all been the same. Same with this one too. He started out the same way, but the original story was changed slightly to make it a little bit more fitting.
Yeah, you always gotta adjust and adapt. Same with her, like she's a mercenary just on the run, but like her actual background is a little different, had to, tweaking things. That's what happens when you have a character that you've had for so long. It doesn't necessarily fit where you're going, but you're like, this is my baby. You're coming with me. I will adjust shit.
As my character developed, he got more and more advanced armor and weapons, and he, stepped out of the leather armor and, Japanese style weaponry from his, original upbringing. Something completely different now.
What would you say Solus's goal is nowadays? Because that must have also changed.
His goals have ultimately been the same, but his outlook on things have changed drastically. It was always to make sure what happened to his family never happened to someone close to him again, or those he was close to. And in this instance, they're fighting a war of the cultists of the World Eater. Pretty self-explanatory. But this threat is constantly evolving. Every time that we face them, they learn from our technology and our weapons more and more. Eventually, they gained like a 75% immunity to our stuff, and we have to keep advancing and going along so we're still effective. There's that constant drive to get stronger. In terms of, drive and goals, he's just trying to protect his family. Always has. Hal has been constantly evolving from slightly bitter and fed up with the environment around him to being completely fine with the environment around him. Just don't threaten my family or I'll kill you. Just straight up 180. Just, please come in. Let's have a discussion about this. Now, why are you threatening these individuals? No, it's crushes heart, walks away. And now we're kind of in a nice middle range in between that, where it will actually assess everything in its entirety before making a snap decision like that. Swords and shields and buggy and carriage to high-tech weapons and, third world problems. And first world problems are, just... you can't avoid it.
What's the biggest change to Soless that you did not plan for? Something that you were just like, oh, this is my plan, this is where I'm going, and then what? Well, alright, I guess this is happening now.
The plan ultimately, because of character bleed problems, where when something happens to this character, I get physically nauseous and ill, that I don't plan out. So to mitigate that, I thought out the entire plan and how I ultimately wanted him to die and come back as an angel and serve another purpose besides his original. That was the ultimate goal of thing. What I wasn't planning on was having the possibility to evolve, and not only evolve, but become a demigod in the process. So now he's more on the way of becoming a god than an angel. And with everything the way it's working out, I'm not sure if ultimately this same ending is going to be possible, because depending on the outcome, he might not, just die and become an angel. He might become a god himself because of his deeds. And I have to do rolls and stuff while that's going on to make sure, okay, and I'll jot down the numbers for that to see by the end of things, was it a good thing or a bad thing on the scales? To see how that outcome will ultimately come out. I can tell you right now, the numbers aren't good.
Hey, you're doing rolls. When do dice ever behave? It's like, please, I want one thing. Fuck you. Like, fuck.
The one D&D group I had, I noticed one of my dice tended to be a little bit more loaded. It was a D6 system where I'd get to literally an entire bag full of D6 and just dump them out, and that was my roll. And the one die always landed on a 6. I'm like, why is it landing on a 6 all the time? The bottom end of it had this skull and gear for 40k.
Okay.
Made the bottom even heavier than the rest of it. So it favored landing on the 1 to show the 6.
Yeah, I heard about these cool dices that sometimes got some imbalance because they got all these intricate designs and shit.
Yeah, no, I told my DM at the time about it, and I was like, look, do you mind if I still use the die because I'm not going out and get more when I'm rolling a bunch of them? As advised as to rolling a few or 1. And they were appreciative that I admitted that I believe this die is a loaded die, and I rolled it a couple times. It landed on 6, 4 out of 5 times. They're like, oh yeah, that thing's fucking loaded. So we agreed if I threw it in with a bunch of them, at least that's one good roll I'd get out of a dozen.
I mean, what's 1 die when you have to throw fucking 10? It's like, oh well, 1.
Yeah. Where half of them land on a nat 1.
Oh man. Well, that was it for all my questions. So, I mean, unless you have something very specific you want some people to hear, camera's right there. Otherwise, that's it. That's all I had in plan.
Stop watching YouTube, get on VR chat, it's awesome.
And join in VR. Fuck desktop. We want you.
Get the job done.
Yeah,
That's the one
but
thing that was holding me back. It's like I wasn't comfortable being a desktop, but there are plenty of role players who play in desktop nowadays
oh,
and
there's great ones.
enjoy it.
Absolutely. I can think of so many people that only play on desktop, but like I see it as a bit of an improvement when they get actually like VR and stuff. Hey, I can shake your hand. I can give you a hug. You can give me a hug. Oh my god, please and thank you.
And that's what ultimately killed me after the first week.
You see all these people just like doing like on desktop you can join combat. I've seen a couple players actually join combat and they have like the one gun that I think the animation goes something like this and they just go and it works, but come on, do you not want to hold the shield? Do you not want to have to go over the shield and just shoot and like do like these cool moves and whatnot? It's like, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Like my original character had, had a lot of stuff like that.
Oh
Just
yeah,
straight up, it's like this armor is my physical armor. I have this. I made my
nice.
shield. It works really well.
I can
I
imagine.
went up against 12 people, and I won.
I guess that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. You're like the first person I do. I hope this is fun. I hope this is like, I hope
Oh yeah,
people learn stuff, make it interesting, you know? I'm doing it because I
you
really
might
want
have
to
to do the
learn shit
video in
about
2
people.
parts, but
I might have to. I'll see. I'll try to edit this to the best I can. Thanks for being there, man. It's really appreciated.
no problem.
And I'll see you guys, whenever I make another video. If you want to be here, poke at me. You know how it goes? Like, look, he did it. If he did it, you can do it too. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I could poke at you, all right.
Ah. Wow, look at you. You managed to get to the end of the video. Or did you skip? You better not. Anyway, you watched the whole video, so might as well subscribe while you're here. There's gonna be more like that, I promise. Maybe. I don't know. I don't care. Do what you want.